To order, would you please call the roll?
Cavell.
Here.
Colwall.
Here.
McGilvray.
Here.
Howell.
Here.
Charles.
Present.
Long.
Here.
Moss.
Here.
Markham.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Present.
Thank you. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Next up is approval of the minutes. We have two sets of minutes, one from our regular meeting dated December 21st and the other for the closed session, also dated December 21st. Motion from Commissioner Long, supported by Commissioner Colwall. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Minutes are approved. Next up, we have approval of today's agenda. I need a motion for that. Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Cavell. Any comments? All in favor of approving today's agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Approval, the agenda is approved. Next up, we have public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak today? Each member of the public will be given 3 minutes. If you want to speak, please come to the end of the table and state your name and your community. I see somebody moving.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion, and there are a couple items I wanted to touch on today. The first, I just would appreciate your support in the renovation of the health center for the sheriff department so they have a decent place to do their evidence, and it will also double as extra storage for the community. I think that's a very important and a good use of the funds. And it's always worthwhile to renovate what's existing so it doesn't become blight anyway. And this is a much better purpose for it. I do have a concern with the communications item number 7D. It starts page 21 of 89 in the packet. It's a letter dated 12/9/21 stating that Mr. Woodward had to act alone basically to meet a November 19th, 21 deadline. But the Dem Caucus actually had a meeting that day to decide all the money, how they were going to spend it with ARPA. And I did not know that they also had a Dem Caucus meeting on the November 19th, the same day that they say they couldn't have had a full board meeting. Now, about a week prior, they had full board meetings and Dem Caucus November 9th and 10th. So why would that not have been taken place then, when there was a full board just days prior? And the fact that there's no public comment either before or after the Dem Caucus meeting kind of makes me wonder that maybe I wasn't the only one that was unaware that there was an additional meeting inserted again. And the concern is that all this was about how to spend all the money. And it's very detailed. The minutes are in the Dem Caucus packet for December 9th. You have to go to page I guess that's 7 of 10, and there's 3 pages of minutes documenting all the decisions and all the major monies that are going to each of the different categories without any public interface and without any bipartisan commissioners there. So that, to me, is very concerning because why is it one-sided? Why is there only one side that gets to determine agendas or ask the attorneys for corporate advice? Why is it so partisan here? I actually don't understand how he can justify that type of approval. And he did the same thing with the Raise the Age grant for $750,000. And I didn't think that was appropriate to be coming to the committee as a simple communications item. Why are those big items just coming to communication? Because they didn't schedule it accordingly? I think there's a statement, your lack of planning is not my emergency. Heard that one probably. So I'm very concerned because there's an awful lot of inserted meetings that seem to come. And those are the ones that genuinely concern me. Just like the ones December 30th was also very offensive. No notice, no packet. Once
Kennedy,
again.
your time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in public comment at this time?
Hello, my name is Heather Smiley. I'm from Lake Orion. Lake Orion. I can't even talk today. It's been a long day. I, too, am concerned about some of the spending you have. My phone went out, so I don't have any of my notes. But I know that one particular thing was Children's Village. They are getting money to give food and meals to children in emergency shelters. I don't understand what that means. Children's Village is a detainment center for juveniles. I'm familiar with the location. I feel that a lot of this money is getting grayed over. Like, I don't understand how, like she was mentioning, commissioners are making decisions on money without having full board or public comment. Information to the public is not available for us to be able to voice our concerns to our commissioners. And I feel that there's a lot of funding that looks good. Oh, Children's Village, yes, let's feed the children. Totally about that. But what shelters? Are they actually the immigration children that people are being shipped into Michigan? I know that with the 112 building on Pike Street, we still don't know what and who we're paying money to every month on that. We've got the issue with the Oakland Waterford Airport, where taxpayers are supposed to pay basically for the government to use our property, which includes maintenance of the runways and keeping security and all these things, yet we're not able to use it or collect any revenue from it. And now additionally, hidden money for food and meals for residents of emergency shelters. I'm all for feeding homeless people. I actually volunteered my money and my time at homeless shelters. For Christmas Eve, our family took food and fed over 30 homeless vets in Detroit. Like, that's not my problem. My problem is, where is the money actually going? Who is the money actually helping? Why can we not seem to get a straight answer about where the funding is going? Outlined, it looks beautiful, but if you get into the actual agenda and the documents, which some people don't even know how to find, when you get into the actual grit of it, it's a decoy. It's like, okay, we're going to help this particular, but you get into it, and oh no, actually, Children's Village is going to send money over to elsewhere. So we are repaying for funds that they didn't have accounted for. That sounds like a fundraising aspect, not necessarily a county commissioners, we need to give money to them. That would be like saying, I'm going to go out and blow out my credit card and go, hey, Mom, can you give me 10 grand because I blow out my credit card? Like, that's not actually how it works. There should be a budget. There should be people that come and say, okay, we've got X amount of children that need help. What can we do? And then the community, the commissioners will then go, okay, X, Y, Z, you get 3 meals a day, you get 2 meals a day, you get, as far as the, I think it was at-risk daycare. Why aren't we opening up our schools then for daycare for children that are at risk? We've got teachers that are not going to work. They're getting paid. We've got buildings that are open and not being used. Why don't we go to our communities and say, like my church bus, pick up kids. We got school buses. Hey, you want to come and hang out and do school? We got food. We got latchkey. We'll help you with your homework. Parents who are possibly at risk have to work. Their kids may not get the attention that, say, house mom families would have.
Your time is up.
So
Thanks
I just
very
think there's a
much.
better way to spend money. I think that we really need to look into where the money's going. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak?
I'm Sandra Carlan from Novi. I stand in support of the renovation of the Pontiac Health Center building renovation project. I think it's a good use of funding. I was here a few weeks ago when, there were buckets of money being discussed, and I found it highly offensive. I know you have to categorize things and put them in columns and buckets or whatever you want to call it, but it just made me irritated that $242 million or 246, whatever it is, that a small group of people was making the decisions what bucket to put that in. And so I really feel that we need to have more transparency about that. I do want to thank you for providing agendas finally for some of the citizen taxpayers who attend. I have felt very awkward when I need to continually request them. I think that any of the materials that are not private, that the citizens can't see for some reason, redacted stuff or whatever, that the things that aren't private should always be made available in sufficient quantities for the people who aren't being paid to come here, pay their own gas money, get up early, freeze like the rest of you do. But this is your job. This isn't my job. It's my volunteer as a citizen who would like to have some kind of say in money that was given by the government that is my money. It's not just a gift. It's taxpayer dollars that are coming to our county. And so this money is not meant for individuals to direct in ways that would be their priorities but are not the priorities of the whole community. And I do agree, I don't know that much about it, but I do agree with the other presenters that we're questioning, what's going on with the food and the children, and it is quite a mess. And I really would like for us to recognize before it becomes a major crisis situation. I've been to many meetings now, and I've seen, and I understand some things are just, you've got to approve this and you've got to end that, and you've got to, I don't envy you your jobs, but I just think that we need to recognize that some of these things need to have a deeper dig into them. And I don't think that you have time to do that with all of the responsibilities that are on your plates. So I would encourage you to be careful to listen and learn from the people who do, like the OSHA people who came here months ago explaining about masks. And, I still see a very interesting divide. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in public comment? Seeing no one, I will close public comment at this time and move on to communications. I need a motion to accept the communications. Commissioner Kowal, supported by Commissioner Powell. Does anybody have any comments? Commissioner Kowal.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding the Children's Village grant, do I need to ask to, I guess I wanted to speak to it because my knowledge is that this is a reimbursement grant for Children's Village.
Right.
Just establishing that. The wording of this would lead one to believe otherwise. So I think that perhaps before this comes, would this become before the full board as a communication?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that wording tightened up a lot, because it does lead people to believe otherwise.
Change the title to, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
the first just says provided to the residents at emergency shelters. It's specific to Children's Village.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kowal. Commissioner Charles.
Yeah, Commissioner Kowal, can you say what you were just looking at? I'm not following.
Communications, I think it's right.
Yeah.
Communications.
Okay, so the letter D.
Letter E. Letter E that she was
Yeah.
looking at.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you go deeper into the material that was provided, the application actually details all of the requirements of the receiver of the money.
Right.
And Children's Village is the, group that does that. And then if you look at the proposal itself, it specifically says it's a reimbursement fund. Yes, Commissioner?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right thing. I wanted to speak to letter E even before Commissioner Kowal spoke, so nothing to do with what she said per se. It's just that I spent a good 10 years as a liaison from Southfield Public Schools to our local Head Start program, and just wanted the community members who are listening to know that it's a common acronym in our work, which is CACFP, which is the Child Adult Care Food Program, and these agencies have already spent the money to feed the young people. And to your point about being a reimbursement and all of that, so it's important that they are able to get that money back. And I just know how critical it is, because if a student shows up after a particular time, they don't even get the reimbursement, but they still want to feed the young person. So this is certainly within our wheelhouse, and I just wanted to make sure to elevate it a little higher to let everyone know that it's not just perhaps Children's Village or various agencies. We're talking even Head Start. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Before we go on, I just want to address a couple of things about how the money gets spent, because, and the idea of the ARPA dollars, that's kind of woven into several of these. When the caucus, the way that we are structured, the leadership caucus, which happens to be the Democrats right now because we have the majority, we will discuss all kinds of things. And when it comes to priorities for the big pots of money, and call them buckets or whatever you want, we're going to kick around lots of ideas. But no money gets spent without a full vetting by both sides of the aisle and the standing committees that exist to review all of that. So I just want to reassure the public, we're not out here throwing dollars around. We are really trying to develop programs that fit the guidelines, and the ARPA guidelines are really quite specific. There are only certain things that we can spend this money on. So we're trying to find the best ways to spend it, as well as leverage it with other organizations and other communities. And I just want to reassure everybody, the money doesn't get spent until we vote on it as a board. Commissioner Kowal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So am I to, I was wondering if these subgroups that we have determined are going to continue to meet, and the minority caucus might actually have some input
That's my
into this.
impression, yes.
Okay, because that had me thinking, okay, I guess we've been gone around, but
Let me use broadband as an example, because that's one of the allowed ARPA topics, but we haven't really done anything with it yet. And in the majority caucus, I was kind of tasked with being the person who was going to guide that. And I thought, well, okay. And I talked to the other two people. But then I said, we definitely, as we start moving, we need to bring in the minority caucus as well. Because there's no point in trying to do something if we're not all talking about it. It'll just hit a roadblock at some point. So I want us to continue to be working together. And that dividing it up into the bigger buckets is really just our approach to, how do we even think about this? It's $246 million. There's a lot of specifics to it, and I don't think we're anywhere near spending anything that hasn't been fully vetted by both sides. Yes, Commissioner.
well, thank you, Madam Chair, for your reassurances on that. So I look forward to some future subgroup meetings. But what you just told me already, that the majority caucus has determined how much is going to go into each bucket.
Yes.
No, I don't think that's, that is not nailed down. We've
Okay.
just kind of tossed it out there,
Okay.
If we were going to spend money on X, how much do we think we'd need? 60 million, 10 million? That's kind of the level we're talking at.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Commissioner Charles.
Yes, I appreciate Commissioner Kowal's questions. I actually would probably fall on the opposite spectrum of the conversation and say, yeah, we have kind of figured out what we think is best. And I mean, that's what majority commissioners will do when they have control, as it has been done my whole life here in Oakland County. But what I do want to stress is a point that was brought up earlier about how we can get more engagement from the community. All of the Republican commissioners have been given an opportunity to figure out a work group that they want to sit on. And I know the work groups that I lead, it's not red and blue or R's and D's, it's just what do we want to do? And so, but now, just like with our strategic plan in other government bodies, there should be some kind of feedback loop with the community. I do agree with that. It's going to only help to cover our apples when we ask for their votes. And so,
Apples?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. You guys got it. Your CYA. It's about CYA. And so I think it's important if we could figure out a way to do that in a nice, safe manner. I would avail myself to participate in that as well.
Thank you. I will bring this to our caucus meeting, that we had this discussion in finance, and we need to continue to make it work
Yes.
in the right way.
Yes.
One other thing about the airport, I know this because I was reading about Dave Vanderveen, who's retiring today, who is the longest-serving Oakland County employee. He came to Oakland County in 1967 when Oakland County took over that airport, and he's been with us ever since.
Just after the Wright brothers.
Yeah, and there's a reception for him this afternoon at the airport for his retirement. But I was reading about him, and in that, one of the accolades that he was given was that we only have ever funded the airport by user fees and federal grants. No county general fund money goes to the airport at all, which I think is, really a great story. So I just want to make that clear, that that's how we fund the airport.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Uh-huh.
I'm on a committee with Mr. Vanderveen. I didn't know about this. I'm feeling a little only child sentiment here that I'm having to find out here in this committee, Mr. McGillivray, that our dear Mr. Vanderveen is going to greener pastures, which means more time maybe at the parks. So, is he staying at parks?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner McGillivray.
Yeah, Mr. Van Veen will be staying on Parks and the Airport Committee. He is retiring as a county employee, but he's doing those for as long as he cares. He's an appointee by the county executive, and as long as Mr. Coulter wants him, then I'm sure that he'll have the opportunity to do that, so.
There was a nice article in the Telegraph about him last week, and there'll probably be something in the paper. Okay. Anybody else have any other discussion under communications?
It comes to your email every week, Joe.
Seeing none, would you please prompt the vote on the communications?
McGillivray?
Yes.
We have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Thank you. Next up, we have item number 8, the Public Health and Safety Committee recommendations. Let me read this right. It's the Emergency Management and Homeland Security Grant application with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. I need a motion. Commissioner McGillivray, supported by Commissioner Long. Do we have any discussion on this subject? Do we have somebody to present it?
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Hardesty from Emergency Management, Homeland Security.
Good morning, Mr. Hardesty.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time this morning. This is the county is required to complete a hazard mitigation plan every 5 years. FEMA allows for a funding mechanism with grants to help work through this planning process. It generally takes about a year just to work through the planning and working through the hazard mitigation plan
The
with
paper one's wrong.
every one of our CVT partners as well as with the community. So this project, we're estimating at about $180,000. The grant request is for $135,000 and then $45,000 that we would look to use mostly in in-kind time. And I would be open to any
Point of
questions.
order.
Excuse me one second, Commissioner, or Mr.
Madam Chair,
Hardesty.
before we
Commissioner Moss has a point of order.
I do. Was it my imagination, or did you just say that we were taking up Public Health and Safety Committee number A, funding for staffing modifications? Or did you say, because I thought I heard you say A and read that item, and we're obviously dealing with B. It was my understanding that A was going to be taken off So if you misspoke or I misheard, my apologies, and we will move on to B. I just want to be sure that we are indeed discussing B, emergency management, homeland security.
No.
And Chuck have old paper copies.
Oh,
Yeah, I got an old paper copy, but I thought I heard you say the other
So
one.
look at the.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
I believe it's the way the iPad is, which is what I have.
Right, so wait, just be sure I
which is that
understand.
A is the, on the iPad, it doesn't
Right,
have the full
yes,
title.
I can see
That's your
that.
problem.
Just want to be sure that we're on the right item. Okay, thank you very much.
We are
Super.
Item 8A, the iPad has the last half of the description, but I read the whole description.
Yeah,
Should I read
so,
it again?
okay, so I did not just imagine it.
No,
Okay.
you did not.
Super, thank you. Just for the record, everybody, my understanding is that we are now discussing emergency management and homeland security grant application with the Federal Emergency Management Agency for the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program. That is what we are discussing,
That
yes?
is what we're discussing.
Super, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Sorry for the
No worries.
mix up there. Okay, Commissioner, or Mr. Hardesty, did you have something to add, or should I open it up to questions?
I'm open to answer any questions that commissioners may have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, does anybody have any questions? Commissioner Charles?
Yes, I do hesitate to raise my hand, but I would like to ask our dean if you could just say, because you said this comes around all the time, it's pretty boilerplate, 5 years kind of thing, so it'll help me to not have to drill down too much.
Well, I think, Tom, is that correct? This is every 5 years. I hope I'm speaking correctly.
Yes, the plan, we have to update the plan every 5 years, and it takes us about a year to do that.
Yeah.
So we work with every community, with all the schools, and then also host public meetings to work through this. It's to plan for and try to prevent and mitigate natural disasters.
And then that $135,000 is used for updating the plan, correct?
Yes, and
Okay.
generally that is used to hire consultants to help aid us with doing that plan. There are some specialty consultants so generally that goes out to bid through the normal county bid process, and that vendor is selected.
Okay, if there's no other questions, let's prompt the vote, please.
McGilroy?
Yes.
Oh, here,
Yep.
slow. Got it.
Yep. 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, next.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Hardesty. Have a great day. Next up, we have item number 9A, Facilities Maintenance and Operations Resolution for the Pontiac Health Center Building Renovation Project. I need a motion. Commissioner Powell, supported by Commissioner Charles. We have with us Ed Joss and Under Sheriff Childs, and looks like Steve Foster's there with us. Good morning.
Morning. So this project would allow us to renovate the old Pontiac Health Building. We've had some planned maintenance through our capital improvement program to replace the roof, upgrade the HVAC system, and a few other things. As part of this project, we'd also like to renovate the space to provide a new and up-to-date, more adequate storage facility for the sheriff's office evidence. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the construction or the timing. Under Sheriff Childs is on to talk about the need of it. As you mentioned, we also have a couple members of the facilities management team, Steve Foster, who's a project manager, and Joe Murphy that can maybe help with some of the technical questions you may have. We also have Aaron Quattel, our environmental sustainability officer, who's on, who can help field any questions concerning the sustainability items that we're including in this project, including some proposed solar panels that we'd like to implement as part of the project.
Thank you. I just want to make a note. I just want to ask a question. You said it's Building 34 East, but the map that you've got here shows Building 36 East is circled. It says Building 34, but you've circled Building 36. I just want to clarify, it's the Health Department building and not the Medical Control Authority building?
Right, yeah, so that is an error, and I apologize for that. It is the old Pontiac Health Building, which is across the street from the existing health department. So the building that's circled is the correct building.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So the little history there, the 36 East building is where the health department used to be housed. When we moved folks into the new executive office building, the old executive office building, which is 34 East, became vacant. We moved the health department over there, and then a large portion of 36 East has been vacant for some time. And that's why, in order to protect that asset, we need to, we just need to do some maintenance to it, including, again, like replacing the roof, addressing some windows, and revamping the HVAC system.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for the presenters?
So, that one.
Commissioner Long?
I just want to clarify, it's the flat lower building, correct? The parking lot's between the health center and then it's on the other side and it's the flat, long building? Am I right?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, all right,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, Commissioner McGilvery?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ed, if you could, can you tell us, we're revamping the building for what purpose? Who will be using it, for what purposes?
Yeah, so I'll just touch on it briefly, and then I'll let Under Sheriff Childs add to it. But we're doing a lower level renovation to create a storage space for really anyone on campus that needs it. But the major portion of this project is, renovating the main level for the sheriff's office for their evidence storage. So, Under Sheriff, if you want to expand on that.
Yeah, currently all of our evidence is stored in the basement of the jail, and obviously we've had some issues there, whether it's plumbing and piping or heavy rains with flooding. So we want to move that evidence out of that building to a more stable area to not interfere with any evidence that we need for criminal trials. Excuse me. So that's the basic need that we need to have this new building for our purposes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Commissioner Kowal?
Thank you. And I assume the same security measures will be in place?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cavell?
Thank you, Chair. Could I just ask Erin to speak to why she's on the call
Erin
as the
Cattell?
Director of Sustainability?
And we had a little hard time. We had a little hard time hearing you earlier, Erin, just as a heads up.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, great, perfect. I made some adjustments because I heard that comment from the last meeting I sat in on. So thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in front of you today. I am here to support Ed and his team since this does have our first solar project involved in this proposal, as well as some other sustainability items. Happy to be here and answer any of your questions regarding that. And moving forward, you can expect to see me giving input, being a technical expert in a variety of different sustainability programs and practices for our buildings, facilities, and operations. As you know, too, I'm working on the AECOM plan, which is looking at all of our operations and facilities and ensuring that we're integrating a variety of different sustainability programming, such as energy efficiency, water efficiency, and making sure we're being very fiscally responsible and equitable with those decisions and recommendations. So if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them, and just here to support this program.
Thank you. Is that,
Yeah.
are you done, Tara? Okay. Commissioner Charles?
Thank you. I think this question is for Mr. Jass. Could you just tell us what the the color coding is, if that's even relevant, or it's just happened to be, I'm just curious, there's red buildings and blue buildings.
So yeah, if you're referring to the color coding, the blue and the red on the campus map, that just simply signifies whether it's considered West Campus or East Campus. So everything on the west side of Telegraph is blue, everything on the east side is red, right? Pontiac, Waterford, and then our wayfinding and signage system. Well, if you'll notice on the top of our pediment signs outside the buildings, they'll have either blue or red.
Okay. Thank you for that answer.
Huh.
Not green and white.
Or anything
Or
other
maize
than
and
red and blue.
Or brown and gold. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions on the commission?
No.
All right. Seeing no one, let's prompt the vote. Get those sheriffs out of that soggy basement.
McGilvray?
Yes.
About time. We have 8 yeas, 0 nays.
Excellent. Thank you. Motion carries.
So much.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, next up, we have department recommendations, but we don't have any. Item number 11 is our second public comment. Again, everybody has 3 minutes. Please state your name and your community. Does anybody wish to speak?
Oh, it's almost afternoon, I guess. Catherine Kennedy from Lake Orion. And I just have one area I wanted to expand on a little bit. On the FEMA hazard mitigation, it was stated in the 2018 update, climate change was not an area of consideration. Climate change will be a point of emphasis in the plan update. That's pretty darn vague. But apparently that's the purpose of the 180,000. And I would actually like to have a lot more research behind that before declaring what is being done. I would argue a lot of the policies that need to be done to help with climate change, like preventing people from plowing down woods, are policies that don't cost money. So I would actually like a lot more detail on that. And FEMA, it seems like the primary issue we have in our county are certain areas that flood. So I'm just a little confused by the vague statement of it. It is page 75 of 89 in the packet. Seems like it should have a lot more clarification before declaring that's how we're going to spend almost $200,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Heather Smiley, Lake Orion. Thank you so much for clearing up.
Give me a second
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Done. I gotta find the right button. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
You're good. I just want to say thank you for clearing that up. That I read it. Feeding the children, Head Start, yes, but please let us know exactly where the money is going. Another thing that I just wanted to bring to notice is we were able to get the mask mandate rejected for the Michigan School Board. So I'm just wondering when you guys are going to take off your masks, because it's pretty much ridiculous and useless, and you shouldn't be masking our children, nor should you have these poor sheriffs that work all day trying to keep us safe, breathing in these kind of conditions. None of them want it. Ask them. They have to wear it because of the sheriff. So I just can't wait for America to be free again. Have a good day.
Anybody else care to comment in public comments?
Wait a minute. When they said that, I said, well, we good giving you. That's bullshit. Government needs to sit down now. That's all.
All right. Next up.
Yeah, Sandra Carlian from Novi. You pretty much know where I stand on a lot of things because I've been here a number of times, but I just want to really encourage this body, especially since the importance of what decisions you're making. I was really encouraged today by Yolanda in her willingness to listen to.
Would it be Commissioner Charles?
Yes, I'm sorry, Commissioner Charles, thank you. I couldn't read the last name, that's why I had to go to the first name, and I needed little glasses. But I did want to thank her, and no disrespect was meant by not using the proper title. But I did want to thank her, and I also wanted to thank the chair, Commissioner Markham, for, it's hard to name them because in some of the meetings we're not allowed, the larger meeting, we're not allowed to address them. So I'm not used to addressing the commissioners. But I would like to encourage everyone to, try to work together. I did appreciate some of the questioning. The one that is a reimbursement, I couldn't help but wonder if, since we are concerned about how the money's being spent, and you are obviously concerned about how the money's being spent, if there is enough transparency when there is a reimbursement, if there's a request made to have a line item information about how the funds were used that we are reimbursing with the tax dollars that come from the taxpayers, I would appreciate that. I don't know if that is something that, you guys have seen those reimbursement line item things. Another thing that I have a concern about is I don't want Michigan to become a magnet for illegal immigration by having such a generous program of help, especially when it was talked about like bank accounts or something. And I think that that's a very dangerous magnet. We have a lot of veterans here. We have a lot of seniors. We have a lot of foster kids and communities of need that I think we should take care of. And we should be very careful not to become a magnet to bring in foreign people to serve with our social programs.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during public comment? Commissioner McGilvery.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just like to address the comment that the young lady gave that I'm still wearing a mask. And I want you to know why. I have a wife who is at home right now under somebody's care because she can't be left alone. She's had a kidney pancreas transplant. I want to make sure that she doesn't get sick and die. That's my privilege, just like it's your privilege not to wear a mask. And for you to call people out is just absolutely wrong. And I think it's unfair of you and the entire group who have been coming to the meetings. I've been called every name in the book because I want to keep my wife safe and alive.
I have never called you anything.
I'm sorry, public comment for you is over, ma'am. That's all, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McGilvery. Anyone else care to comment during public comment?
I can't, obviously.
If not, I will, is there any other business to come before the board? Seeing none, I will call the meeting adjourned at 11:50. Thank you, everyone.